Alright, hey guys, HH Guy here, and today I wanted to talk about how incels are basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, I wouldn't say I was an incel per se, but I definitely fell into a black-pilled way of thinking, pretty much after high school, because I didn't really have anything going for me in high school, so I guess inceldom was a pretty appealing concept to fall into. And just the whole black pill movement and everything like that, it was very easy to fall into because I had a sense of hopelessness. I didn't think I would be shit, but there's two sides to every coin. You either fall into that mentality forever, or you dig yourself out of that and you start taking steps to build a life that you've always dreamed of. I guess inceldom can be really, it can attract anybody. Inceldom is kind of like a disease. It can really attract anybody into it. I mean, so long as you're a virgin, you can be attracted into inceldom. And here's why. Being an incel is very, very inclusive. Unless you have very male model tier looks, being an incel is extremely inclusive because usually, inceldom focuses on topics like race, which everybody has a race, and incels find ways to attack every single race. You can be a certain height. If you're below a certain height threshold, incels will make it out to believe that you're completely fucked, and you're never gonna have a girlfriend, you're never gonna have this, that, whatever. There are a ton of different groups you can fall into to align to an incel ideology, to relate to one of the, things they want to put out there. I mean, these people will literally demonize your entire existence, your entire identity. So let's say you're a certain race, for example. If you're that race and, there's a particular group of incels that believe that race is fucked, and you already, you're a virgin, you haven't had the opportunity to have sex, all this shit, then that might be appealing to you because you're like, okay, here are these guys who have similar traits to me that have also not had sex. They clearly must be onto something. Maybe that's the way you got into it. There's probably a ton of different ways you got into it, but usually it starts out with you being in a group and then you being led to believe that that group is fucked, or whatever the case may be. So you see all these posts against a specific race, for example, and you happen to be that race. You're gonna start thinking like that. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm Asian, I'm white, I'm black, I'm Indian, I'm whatever. It's over for me. I'm never gonna have anything. You're gonna think like that. And people might think that you can separate what you see on the internet from real life, but if you're an incel, what's gonna happen to you? You're just gonna become jaded. You're gonna become, a pretty much soulless person if you keep falling into this shit, because you've already pretty much given up on relationships or love or anything like that. You've already given up on it. And that's the thing at the end of the day that you really want. So if you lead yourself into thinking that you can never have that thing, then you're going to be in a very bad place. You're just going to have this sense, you're going to have one side telling you, okay, I want to get better, I want to move past this, but then your brain's always going to revert back to the other side, and it's going to say, well, I have this, I'm a certain race, I'm short, I'm not going to, whatever I do, I'm not going to be able to accomplish what I want to do. And that's just a horrible way of thinking. Being an incel, being in the black pill community, you're just surrounding yourself in darkness. You're completely fucking yourself by doing that. Incels are so quick to call other people cucks, but really, aren't they the cucks for denying pretty much their own existence? They're pretty much saying that they're not worth shit, and they're pretty much cucking themselves out of a relationship by doing that, because they're just being so self-pity, like they're not seeing the bright side in things. They're not seeing the potential for improvement, the potential to improve who they are and get what they want. And it's just fucked. Or this is also possible. They might go ahead and demonize women. They might say all women are disgusting whores, which also is not true. And they're just gonna make you believe that they're all whores. They all want like a 9-inch dick. They want you to be like 6'5", whatever, man. They'll make up any bullshit they can to keep you pretty much docile. That's what they're doing. They're making you operate at a lower frequency. They're not allowing you to do anything. This is literally psychological warfare. People might not see it as that, because, you know, it's a group of people. It's not like propaganda or something like that. I guess you could even make the argument that it is kind of propaganda, but at the end of the day, there's a group of people that are coming up with these thoughts and they're posting them online. Other people are seeing them. Other people are relating to them. It's almost like a cult. But yeah, let me move on to the next point here. So, I mean, you're literally reading information from people who have never once been intimate with a woman. I remember I tried to sign up for the Incel forums and I couldn't get in because I had a girlfriend at one point, and that was just, you know, the Incels couldn't accept that I wasn't one of them. But what you're doing when you're on the Incel forums, I mean, if having a girlfriend makes you exempt from being in the Incel forums, then really what you're doing, you're reading information from people who have never once been intimate with a woman, who have never held hands with a woman, who have never even so much as hugged a woman, some of these guys. And you're reading information from them like it's some sort of gospel. You're believing everything that they're saying. I mean, you go talk to a guy who actually has been around a lot, and you try to talk to him and get information out of them, but then your brain just kind of resorts into thinking like, okay, this guy's a normie. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know the struggle. It's just retarded. It's literally retarded. They're not believing the people who have actually been around, who actually have real advice they could possibly share for you. And you're just believing that these people who are extremely jaded and they just want your point of view to align with theirs. They want you to be in the darkness. They want you to be operating at a low frequency just like they're operating at a lower frequency. And it's just really fucked. And another thing about browsing these forums that's really going to fuck you over, you're going to become overstimulated to things that prove the Incels theory. Okay, so whether that be something against your race, something against your height, or whatever. For example, let's just go with the example of height here. Let's say you know a guy, he's like 5'5", 5'6", or something like that, and he goes and he asks out a girl, and she rejects him. Maybe she makes a comment about him being short or whatever. In your brain, if you've already seen all these incel things, if you've already been conditioned to believe that they're all extremely true, and you see this one event that happens, you're going to believe that, you know, it's fucked. It's just going to reinforce that theory into your head every time you see something like that. It's just going to completely reinforce the theory that, you know, all short people are fucked. All people of this race are fucked. It's just going to reinforce that theory in your head, and it's going to drive you mad. It's really going to drive you mad if you see shit like that, and you've been preconditioned to believe that everything that the incels are saying is 100% true, and there's no exceptions whatsoever. Now, that kind of relates to my next point here. Let's say if you're an incel, and like I said, you've been reading all this shit, you've been indulging in this content, and then you actually have a girl flirting with you. Now, what's gonna happen? I mean, you've been conditioned to believe all this shit, either about yourself or about women, and you're gonna have a very conflicted mindset on how to deal with this. part of you is going to say, go for it. Why not go for it? It'll be experience, maybe the girl's attractive. It doesn't really matter what the case is. But, one side of your brain's going to be telling you to go for it. And the other side of your brain's going to be telling you, fuck it. It's, you're delusional for thinking that she would like you. You're delusional for, believing she's not a whore. All that kind of shit. And you're just going to have this very conflicting mindset, and you're not going to know what to do. And what is that going to do to you? That's going to give you a sense of insanity right there, because you're not going to know what to believe anymore, because your belief structure is so fucked, because you've been surrounding yourself with this bullshit. And then when finally something comes along that contradicts that hell you put yourself through, it's going to drive you mad, because it's just two conflicting views. You're just going to tell yourself that it's not possible, even though it's clearly happened. It's clearly happening, whatever the case may be. And it's just going to really fuck you up. So moving on to my last point here. What causes inceldom? In my opinion, if you become an incel, if you become infatuated with this black pill way of thinking, there are three possibilities of why that may be happening. One, which I think is the most common one, is a sense of inferiority. Okay? If you already feel shitty about yourself, and then you have people online talking about, they're just reinforcing your beliefs about feeling shitty about yourself, feeling inferior to other people. They're just going to reinforce those beliefs, and they're going to drag you down with them. And next possibility, having a shitty childhood, which kind of plays into the sense of inferiority. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand with each other. But either way, having a shitty childhood, maybe you had bullies or something, that could possibly lead you to become an incel. And finally, trying to get to the bottom of things. And I think this is a category that I found, myself falling into the most. Because I was always trying to find studies that confirmed, either black or white, or in other words, it's either one end of the spectrum or the other. And I was always trying to get to the bottom of it, because obviously things are on a spectrum. They're not either true or false. So, I was trying to get to the bottom of things. I'd see evidence proving one side of the spectrum, and then evidence proving the other side of the spectrum. And I guess that kind of goes back to the point about having two conflicting mindsets. That's pretty much what that is. But even worse than that, even taking it out of the context of being flirted with by a girl, it can be political. It can, again, relate to these groups, your race, your height, or whatever. And you might try to find the truth, even though there is no definitive truth. Some girls are not going to like some guys of a certain race. Some girls are not going to like guys of a certain height. Okay? And notice how I use the word some. I'm not saying all. I'm not saying none. Alright? Everything's on a spectrum. Nothing is definitive. And I think that's what incels really need to get through their heads. Because they post things, they say it's on one end of the spectrum, or the other end of the spectrum. There's no in between. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Sorry if my voice kind of sounded fucked up during it. Don't really know why that is. Think I'm a little bit sick or something. But yeah, I'll probably make some more content soon revolving around similar subjects. But yeah, alright, that's gonna do it. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm definitely open for discussion, especially on these kind of topics, so feel free to do that if you want. But other than that, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video I make.